Jungkook, a young man known for his spirit and resilience, is undergoing military training. Although he is a strong man, days at the military camp are never easy. Rigorous physical training, little sleep, and mental stress make his body vulnerable. However, Jungkook always tries not to let himself or those who support him down. The sky was still dark when the sound of the whistle echoed through the military camp area. The temperature was chilling to the bone, and a light dew soaked the sandy ground where the soldiers prepared for morning training. Among them, Jungkook stood tall, but something was different that morning. His face was pale, and his usually eager eyes were dull. He bit his lip, trying to ignore the pain that ran up his throat. Just a little unwell, she thought. He was reluctant to complain or show weakness in front of his peers or instructors. As a soldier known for his perseverance, Jungkook felt he had to perform at his best, no matter what. As the warm-up began, Jungkook followed the instructions without saying much. The push-ups, sit-ups, and planks that he used to complete with ease now felt like a tremendous burden. His body began to sweat profusely even though the air was still cold. "I can do it," he muttered, trying to motivate himself. However, the shadows around him slowly blurred. When it came time to run cross-country, Jungkook already felt that his body was almost at its limit. His legs were shaking, and his breathing was getting heavier. Even so, he forced himself to keep running. The whistles and cues of the instructors sounded like distant echoes in his ears. His colleagues, who had been running next to him, began to pass him one by one. Suddenly, his vision went dark. His foot tripped, and his body staggered before falling to the ground. Jungkook tried to get up, but his body felt like it was being held down by an invisible weight. His head felt spinning, and the world around him seemed to stop. "Jungkook!" One of his teammates yelled and ran over to him. The instructor immediately called the medical team. Two soldiers helped lift Jungkook's limp body onto a makeshift stretcher. On the way to the camp clinic, Jungkook was semi-conscious. He heard the faint voices of his worried colleagues, but was not strong enough to respond. The instructors immediately took Jungkook to the military camp clinic. The doctor there diagnosed him with a high fever due to physical exhaustion and lack of rest. He was asked to take complete rest in the medical room for a few days. In a simple house in Busan, the phone in the living room rang in the early morning. Jungkook's mother, who was preparing breakfast, picked it up immediately. From the other side of the line, a military officer's voice came in a serious tone, telling her that Jungkook had fallen ill due to severe fatigue and high fever. "My son is sick?" His mother's voice trembled, trying to make sense of the news she had just received. The officer assured her that Jungkook was now under medical supervision, but still the mother's heart sank. After the phone was hung up, she sank into a chair, covering her face with her hands, trying to compose herself. Jungkook's father, who overheard the conversation, immediately approached. "What happened?" he asked in a worried tone. Jungkook's mother explained briefly, while trying to hold back tears. Without thinking, they agreed to visit Jungkook immediately. Jungkook's older brother, who had just come out of his room, joined them. "We should bring something for him. He'll need our support," he said. Quickly, they began to prepare everything. Jungkook's mother cooked his favorite meal: seaweed soup with beef strips, warm white rice, and homemade kimchi. He must be tired of eating military food. "At least this will remind him of home," she said gently. Meanwhile, his brother prepared warm clothes and a thick jacket to protect Jungkook from the cold air at the camp. He also included some small items like moisturizing lotion and vitamins. "It may seem trivial, but he definitely needs it," she said. Not to forget, they brought envelopes containing letters from Jungkook's friends. Before leaving for the military camp, Jungkook received many messages from his friends who wanted to support him. His mom thought the letters could be a reminder that Jungkook was never alone. The journey to the military camp was not easy due to its remote location, but they didn't care. "Jungkook definitely needs our support," his mother said in a firm but worried voice. When the family arrived at the camp, Jungkook was still lying weak on the clinic bed. His face was pale, but his eyes lit up when he saw his family enter the room. "Yama, Appa, Hyung." His voice was hoarse, but full of happiness. His mother rushed to him, hugging him carefully. "Jungkook, why didn't you tell us earlier? You're too hard on yourself," she said, holding back tears. His father, usually stoic, patted Jungkook's shoulder gently. "You did your best, son. But remember, your health is important too." His brother, who was carrying a bag full of food, took out some warm porridge and fed Jungkook. "You can't eat like a soldier every day. Enjoy this, Yama made it," she said with a small smile. The presence of Jungkook's family at a time when he was down made a huge difference to his mood. The loving faces of his mother, father, and brother seemed to chase away the shadow of his loneliness and fatigue. Jungkook, who previously could only lie down with a weak body, now felt that he had regained some of his energy, not only from food and care, but also from the sincere love of his family. On the first day after his family returned home, Jungkook was still feeling weak, but there was a small smile on his previously sluggish face. The letters from his friends read by his brother kept ringing in his head. One of his favorite lines read, "Jungkook, you might feel alone right now, but remember that there are many people out there who believe you can get through this." It's become his little mantra whenever discouragement sets in. It's not just family that is providing support to Jungkook. His friends at camp have also started to show their concern. Although military training is notoriously harsh and disciplined, there is a growing sense of community among the soldiers. Kim Tae-ho, one of Jungkook's close friends at camp, often came to visit him at the clinic after training hours. Tae-ho always brought funny stories about events in the field, making Jungkook laugh even though his body was still weak. "You know, Jongmin almost fell into the ditch this morning? We all laughed until our stomachs hurt," Tae-ho said while mimicking Jongmin's confused gait. Jungkook chuckled, despite having to endure the pain in his throat. In addition, other colleagues also provided practical help. They took over Jungkook's duties while he focused on recovering. Miho, who was usually cold, even helped wash Jungkook's gear. "Don't get used to being spoiled, okay?" joked Miho as he handed over Jungkook's clean uniform. "Of course not. But thank you, Miho Hyung," Jungkook replied with a genuine smile. When it was finally time for the family to go home, Jungkook felt sad, but also motivated. "I'll come back stronger, Yama, Appa, Hyung. Don't worry," he said with a faint smile. His mother replied gently, "We always believe in you. Jungkook, take good care of yourself." After his family left, Jungkook was determined to take better care of his health and finish his military training with pride. He knew that even though he was far from home, his family's love was always there for him. The days at military camp were tough, but for Jungkook, the experience was a lesson in resilience and the importance of support from those closest to him. With the strength he gained from the love of his family, he was confident that he could overcome all the challenges.